Traders, how are you? With Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. New year, new president. Let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. I just want to say one little thing before we start the recap. Just remember that your life really isn't that bad. I remember I share a video every once in a while on Instagram where it's a guy who doesn't have any arms and he washes cars for a living. Like you could be in a war right now in Ukraine or the Middle East. So be a little bit grateful. I think that changing the chip in the brain, being grateful about what you have, things are going to be perfect at times. You may not be where you want to be, but keep going at it. Markets hit new record highs this week, but ended lower on Friday, although they were higher for the week. Canada was positive as well, 1.60%. Trump reiterated his plans to cut regulations and taxes after being sworn in. And some of the conspiracy theory news, I'm sure you guys have seen the situation with all the crazy weather that's been going on. First, the Northeast got walloped with the snowstorms. We have the fires in California. We even have shattering cold records in Florida. So much for global warming. But even in Georgia, Houston, we have all these record low temperatures. And in regards to the fires in California, more carbon dioxide was released into the atmosphere during the California wildfires this week than was ever conserved in the history of environmental policy in California. Just want to throw that out there. Top scientists in Japan have discovered the risk of heart failure surges by 4,900% after somebody takes the thing in your arm from the pandemic. Oh, and another thing about the pandemic, Donald Trump removed the Secret Service protection for Fauci in addition to John Bolton, said that they got enough money to hire their own security if they want it. And asylum seekers in Arizona were caught with 30,000 high caliber rifle rounds. I don't know why they would need that amount of firepower, but I just have a really bad feeling, especially since we've had the open border for so long, that we're going to have some kind of attack or disaster or something like that. Something doesn't seem right. That's why I wanted to share that. Overseas market news, European markets mostly higher. Paris was the biggest winner there. Latin America, looking at the markets, they were mostly positive as well. The Bovespa, which is the Brazilian market, the biggest in all of Latin America, was up 0.07%. Africa and Middle East, mostly mixed. 1.2% was Nigeria, 1.32% Egypt. Asia and the far East, those markets were mixed, but the Hang Seng from Hong Kong was the biggest positive there. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency news. New year, new president, new shitcoin. Trump dropped his own meme coin. I call them shitcoins. They surged to $12 billion in market value, up to 18th biggest cryptocurrency at one point. They dropped another one for Melania Trump as well. I thought it was really ironic that they actually released the meme coin after the SEC head decided to resign or get fired, one of the two. And Bitcoin hit another record high this week, $109,333. It closed at $104,710, and it was up 1.18% for the week. There's going to be a little bit of a shift now in when it comes to the crypto, because now that a pro-crypto administration is coming in, they're going to, they already have the AI group that's going to be looking to make it clear rules and regulations and everything for the crypto space. And in addition to that, Trump also said that he wants to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States. Like, for example, Bukele has done in El Salvador. So that's going to be really interesting, because now even if banks are allowed to hold Bitcoin, there's going to be a kind of a 180-degree shift of demand and perception about what's going on in the crypto space. Coffee prices they're expected to hit up to $12 a cup by 2025. The price of coffee hit a record high this week, 347.55. I think it's per bushel, if I'm not mistaken. Cacao also still having problems. It hit a 7-month high. And crude went down by over 4% this week. U.S. crude, 74.66 is where it ended up. Brent, which is the international crude, went down 2.87% to 78.50. And gold at the moment is sitting at a 2.5-month high due to the fact we had a little bit of a push this week, due to the fact that we had a really low drop in the U.S. index. The value of the dollar went down. For the week, gold went up 0.43%, $2,703.30. Remember that last year was the best year for gold since 1979. And silver was down 0.43% to 30.41. Financial and banking news. Cuba this month is opening its first grocery store that's going to accept hard U.S. currency on the island for the first time in 2 decades. They need to try to help the economy because some of that communism isn't working out very well, no, is it? And Mexico's annual inflation rate was at its lowest level in the last 4 years. On the first half of January, the 12-month inflation rate was at 3.69%. In economic news, the 2024 U.S. existing home sales was the lowest since 1995. So, houses that were already built. Lowest since 1995. Remember that there were 80 million fewer people in the United States then than there is now. And Argentina's economy grew for the first time in half a year, 0.1% year over year, but growth is growth. Remember that Argentina has the first libertarian president in the world, Javier Milei. Political news, Canada's Trudeau decided to resign from the Communist Republic of Canada. The Trump administration said on Tuesday that they were reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy, forced non-Mexican asylum seekers to wait in Mexico until their papers are processed. He also sent the Marines to the border and a slew of executive orders. I won't go through one by one. He also changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. So back World War champs, baby. The Trump is also thinking about imposing 25% tariffs on both Mexico and Canada as of February 1st to force both countries to try to stem the flow of illegal immigration into the United States. And in corporate news, Tesla is going to raise the prices for all its cars in Canada in February 1st, about $4,000 Canadian. Didn't provide the reason why, but they seem to be doing pretty well with the deliveries. They also have a fresh redesign of the Tesla Model Y as well. Amazon.com is going to exit operations in Quebec, the Socialist Republic of Quebec. It's one of the French states, or the only French state, I should say, in Canada. It's the only location in Canada with unionized Amazon employees over the past 2 months. So it looks like probably wasn't as profitable, now was it? Meta, the parent company of Facebook, is looking to invest $65 billion to expand its AI infrastructure, according to Mark Zuckerberg. And I don't know if you guys have seen recently, everybody's just been shoving the AI stuff down your throats. WhatsApp, Google, everything. I'm kind of sick of it. I don't know about you guys. Technology, TikTok is restoring its service in the United States after, according to the message that they put on the platform, thank you, Donald Trump, for what he's done. Basically, he gave him a 90-day reprieve, and he said that he'd like to have the U.S. own 50% of TikTok, depending on what happens with the sale or how they're going to move it in the next 90 days. Trade news, China now is facing a repeat of tensions and uncertainty under the Trump era. Same thing happened during his first term. The only difference now is the economy in China isn't doing as well as it was before. They have a really big dependency on the export market, in addition to a really bad real estate market and deflation, which is the opposite of inflation, and their currency also is under pressure. So it'll be interesting to see what has happened, because now a lot of companies are starting to offshore from China, and they're going to other countries like Vietnam, for example. So it'll be interesting to see what continues to happen in that space, because China really can't afford for everybody to stop making the stuff in China, really. Argentina registered its largest energy trade surplus in the nearly 2 decades last year. Milei vowed to use oil and gas to propel the weakened economy out of a recession. And it's been reported that Mexico has refused flights from President Trump to allow the military to deport migrants into the country, even though Guatemala started receiving them as well. According to what he said, the deportations, they're already going strong. People are getting arrested, and the government is moving ahead with that full throttle. And interesting facts, I mentioned the 100-year snowfall records that have been broken in a lot of places, including Houston, New Orleans, even Florida. It snowed in Florida, believe it or not. There's one time, there's something you guys should look up. There was a volcano that exploded in Indonesia. It's called Krakatoa. And there was so much plume that went into the atmosphere that it actually blocked out the sun. And the next year after that explosion of the volcano, it was known as the year without a summer. It was snowing in New York in July. Kind of makes you think about how precarious our environment is after all. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, preppers were right.